Let's welcome back Kat Thompson.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back here. I am so excited about this topic because it's a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and the only time I really get to talk about it is sort of at cocktail parties. And so having a venue where I can talk about outgrowing your life is fabulous for me. So I've titled my handout, you might have noticed, Living in Neverland. The United States, I feel, is a perfect example of what happens when you live in a culture that is based on victim reality. And I'm going to get into a little more detail about that. So, how do we learn what the rules of life are? How do we learn to think about how we move through life? We start with tribal beliefs. Okay, so back in the day when tribes were very far apart from each other, there was never a contest for resources because the tribe's story centered around the tribe. The tribe was the center of the belief systems, and the resources were there for the tribe to take advantage of. Tribal beliefs create cultural reality. So what the tribe says is true then creates the framework of the culture, of the society, of the tribe, right? And cultural reality creates personal beliefs. Those beliefs are what allow you to move through life in ways that are either restrictive or expansive, okay? So when tribes were small and scattered far apart from each other, none of this was really a problem because the tribe had its own evolution as a tribe, and if the tribe had limiting belief systems, then there generally was something that would end that particular tribe. As we've become a global world, those tribal stories are crashing into each other because every single tribe is at the center of their mythology. And so if you're at the center of the mythology and the resources are for you, then we're not going to play fair and we're not going to share with each other, right? We're going to fight for our tribal mythology. And that's what we're seeing around the world today, is that we're seeing a lot of people who are moving back into that very small way of looking at the world as a tribal story where they're first. We're first and every other tribe is second or third or fourth or fifth. So the United States has a cultural story or mythology of Peter Pan. We are permanently children. If you think about the institutions and the structures that run our country, that are in place for us to teach us how the world works, they're all about keeping you childlike and having some sort of authoritarian figure or institutional figure that will keep you safe, protect you, and make decisions in your best interest. How many people can see that or can feel the truth of that? Okay. Those of you who can't, I'm going to work at changing your mind. So some of the ways that these institutions, so let's talk about energetics and consciousness. When groups of people agree upon a certain reality, the things that they create to hold that reality in place gain a life of their own, and they get fed by the people's attention and their belief. Everything that's real in our world, real, sort of 3D in our world, is there because we believe in it and we're giving it energy. Okay? So some of these structures that have been created need your belief, and they need your energy, and they need your compliant participation to keep them fed. Now that to me sounds like a parasite. That is not that's not a structure that says, here's how the world works in a way that you can achieve the highest goal that your soul came here to express. Okay, so let's look at some of the belief systems that come with these tribal structures. Your value. Who determines your value in this world, in this country? Who determines your value? Others. Can you be more specific? Okay, so starting with your parents determine your value. And how do parents determine your value? If you're a good child or if you're a bad child. What is the difference between a good child and a bad child? Good children follow the rules. Bad children break the rules. I'm making this extremely simple. It's, of course, much more complicated than this. I'm taking you down to the roots of structures, though. And at the root of any structure, it is a very simple and generally binary equation. Good versus bad, black versus white, man versus woman. So in America, let's go from the parental structure now to education. Now you're off to school. Who puts a value on you in school? Teachers, another figure of authority, right? So now you're swapping out your parents for your teachers. And how do teachers value you? Louder, please. Good or bad. What else? Smart or dumb, right? And who determines if you're smart or dumb? The structure, right? The teachers are just working within the structure, but the structure determines if you're smart or dumb, if you're good or bad, if you're following the rules, or you're being, what's that word they use to describe children that are disruptive, if you're being disruptive, right? So now we leave the school structure, and who determines your value now? Work. And who decides your value at work? Your boss. Is your boss completely neutrally emotional so they can actually see everything about you and make a good decision about your value? How many people have ever had a boss like that? I've been lucky. I was a freelancer, though, so my bosses came and went. So your boss now takes on the parental role. Do you see how we're moving from the time you're a child through these structures that are based on parental authority and on following the rules and on being valued as good or bad, okay? And so now what comes after work? Politics. What does politics reward? Not rocking the boat, right? Politics rewards you following the rules. And so from politics, you get police and security. You get, let me look at my list. You get organized religion. Actually not from politics, but organized religion is another structure that has the figure of authority. They tell you what you should believe, they tell you how you should act, and they tell you what the consequences are if you don't act the way they tell you, and they tell you what your value is, right? Which is why so many people are leaving organized religion in droves, because they're looking for spirituality, not religion. Once religion has organized, in my opinion, it has lost the essence of spirituality, because it then becomes a structure that needs to be fed, and it needs to be fed by your attention and your money and your energy, right? And so the difference between an organization like this, which is really about the essence of spirituality, is that you're getting a return here for your investment. There's a huge return coming back here. Most organized religions, there's not a return. All right. So what are some of the I like to look at, like, what are some of the belief systems that we've gotten from our Neverland structure. And the one that I see first and foremost is that you cannot be trusted to make decisions for yourself. Well, isn't that the essence of adulthood? Isn't that the essence of adulthood, that you get to make decisions for yourself? So unions is another one. I know this might push a few buttons, but the time of unions needs to move on, because unions say you're a victim and you need us to protect you. Any organization that says you are a victim and you need my protection is old. It's the victim reality. It doesn't work anymore. It keeps you in a childlike state. And what happens to children in those structures when they make mistakes? There might be a punishment, but ultimately there's no responsibility. There's no accountability. There are pockets of people who do really, really well teaching their children how to be responsible and how to take responsibility and how to be accountable. But many, all you have to do is look around you to see how many children in their 30s don't know how to create a life for themselves because they don't have the tools. All they've learned how to do is follow the rules, and if there's no rules to follow, they're helpless. So clearly, this is putting an incredible strain on our resources, because we cannot be children forever. We'll kill our environment. It's like a parasite. Okay, so the fact that people don't trust adults. Think about your workplace. You have to punch a time clock because you're not trusted to do the work that you are hired to do. So somebody has to watch over you, right? You can't be trusted to take care of your own health, so you have to get a job that'll provide health insurance for you, because God forbid you should listen to your own body and get some information from that. Organized healthcare or for-profit healthcare is probably one of the things that is killing us as a nation faster than anything else, because it's teaching you that you cannot trust your body, that you cannot trust anyone but someone who's gone through the medical profession. And this is the thing. Back in the 50s when I was born, doctors were God, because we believed that they had the patient's best interest at heart. And when I was 24 years old, I lost my uterus to that belief system. I believed the doctor, what he was telling me. I believed him, and he wasn't telling me the truth. And by the time I found out that he wasn't telling me the truth, it was too late for me. So when I had to go under the knife for that, I said to myself, that's the price that you're going to pay for taking 100% responsibility from your health for the rest of your life. And I have. I learned how to eat. I learned about nutrition. I learned how my body worked. I was amazed at how ignorant I was about how all the different parts of my body worked together. And what happened from the time you ate food till the time it came out the other end? How many people know what that process looks like from the time you eat food until it comes out the other end? Very few. Because why are we not taught that in school? How can you be a healthy human being if you don't even know how your body works? Okay? So part of this overbearing Neverland structure that we're living under, which includes healthcare, which includes insurance companies, which includes education, which includes workplaces, is to keep you small. And to keep you surviving, because small people who are trying to survive rarely have the time, the energy, or the resources to make change happen. Right? Right. So why did we all come here at this time? Why did you come here?
I guess just to grow and learn.
To grow and learn. Why did you come here?
To be fed.
To be fed? I'm not talking about here at Lake Harriet Spiritual. I'm talking about here. Why did you come here right now at this particular time in history? Why did you come here at this particular time? We came to make change. We came to make change. And how that change happens is a personal journey for you. No two of us came with the same plan. But I think we all came together as a soul tribe and said, let's go shake up some shit on Mother Earth. It's time for them to grow up. So we come in, we are inundated with those childlike structures that are meant to keep us small. And our job is to transform them and to open up new ideas for the culture, to put out those starter yeasts that can then go out and grow and spread and teach people that there are other ways of looking at things and there are other ways of doing things, and that, you know what, you have a lot more power than anybody has ever led you to believe. A lot more power. You're a creator. Every single one of us are creators, and every single one of us came here with exactly the right tools to create the life that would bring us the most joy, the most challenge, and the most satisfaction. And one of the things I will tell you about joy is that joy includes the ability to be challenged and push through those challenges. Joy includes being strong and being challenged and finding ways to move through those challenges with integrity. And then that begins to establish you in a co-creative reality in which you have more and more and more power to create the life that you find satisfying and exciting and fun. That's the other reason we came here. We said, we're gonna have fun doing this. This is not going to be doom and gloom. We're not going to sit around in circles and cry about how little power we have. We're going to get together, we're going to dance, we're going to wear costumes, we're going to drum, we're going to do sound healing, we're going to lay hands on each other. We're going to do all the wacky crap that our culture has told us doesn't work and is crazy. Right? And it's working, isn't it? It's working and it's not crazy. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys a question. Not anything you need to answer today. I'd like you to think about this. If everything around you said, we absolutely trust you to make the right decisions for yourself, and we're supporting you. You can work the hours you want to work. You can take on the projects you want to take on. You can do as much or as little as you'd like to do. You can set your life up any way you'd like. What would that life look like? I'd like you to all think about that, because I've been asking some version of that question for 25 years, and I have to tell you that the number of people who are able to give me an answer is in the single digits. We don't spend a lot of time thinking about that because we're so busy struggling to survive within these limiting structures. And the idea that we could even be somebody powerful enough to create a perfect life for ourselves is constantly being rejected by all the other messages that we're receiving. Oh, that can't possibly happen. I couldn't do that. How would I make any money? Blah, 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 blah. The how is not your job. Your job is to own the vision and feed the vision. Make a vision board, write it in a journal, draw a picture of it, make a video about it. Find your vision. What life would make you the most satisfied? And I can tell you from having many different lives in my life and being self-employed for almost all of them, I have to have a structure. I have to have work that is meaningful to me. Retirement is not, that's another one of those old structures. Like, you work for your entire life until you're old, and then you get to retire and play. Who has the energy at that point? I retired when I was 45, and I moved to Mexico and lived in a thatched roof hut for 5 years. And then I got it out of my system, and I'm like, all right, I retired. I was bored out of my mind. I came back and started Emotional Technologies because I needed something to do. Learned about myself that, just living in an environment, and it was lots of parties and lots of people traveling and moving through, and there was always something to do and something different every day, and I was bored out of my mind. I needed work that was meaningful to me. So make sure when you're thinking about what your ideal life is, what do you like to do for work? It may not be anything that you're actually getting paid for at the moment, but within that job that you're being paid for in the moment is something that you love to do and you're really good at. Pick it apart, find the pieces that you're good at and that you love to do, and put them over here. And that might be the only piece you have. Like, I know I like to do this and I'm good at it, and I know I like to do this and I'm good at it. And then you can say, and I would like to paint, I would like to bike more, I'd like to be outside all summer, I'd like to work only 20 hours a week in the summer. Whatever it is, if you have those threads of what makes you happy and what you're good at, the universe is always listening to your magnetic feelings. Feelings are magnetic. So as you're sitting here doing this process and you come back to it every week, add something else, a little picture, a little poem, a little word, the universe begins to pull you to that reality. Okay? How many people know about the many worlds theory? Nobody? Really? The many worlds theory? Okay, so in quantum physics, there's something called the many world theory, and that it's actually not quantum physics, it's physics in general. But as they explore quantum physics is the science of potential. Physics is the science of three-dimensional reality, which is not carved in stone, I will tell you. And quantum physics is the science of potential. And those two things are the 2 feet of human beings. So physics is what you believe to be true, and so that's where you put your energy and you invest yourself, and so you get very solid in that reality. Quantum physics is what if. It's the science of possibility, and where you put your attention in quantum physics changes the result. So where you're putting your attention over here is going to change your foundation over here. So it's really good to exercise your what if muscle. And how many people spend over 80% of their what if worrying about something that might happen? How many people spend more than 50% of their what if worrying about what's going to happen? Oh, good. A good crew here. All right. So the more that you can spend your what if energy into what if I had a life like this? What if I had all the support I needed? What if I didn't have to go to work? What if you didn't have to go to work? What if work was like a hobby for you or something you did because you loved it? What would that look like? And the more energy that you put in there, the more you're going to be taken to that world. So this goes back to the many world theory. In physics, there's now this idea that every possible reality is happening simultaneously, and the many worlds are all like right next to each other. It used to be superstring theory, and then they kind of went, we can't limit it to 100 strings or 1,000 strings. It's infinite. So how they describe it is that every time you make a choice in your life, 2 worlds split. The world where you made this choice and the world where you made this choice. Okay? So if there's an infinite number of realities, why should we stay on one that doesn't make us happy? Let's go to the one that makes us happy. So what you do is you start mining your emotional body for what feels good. What makes me happy? What makes me happy when I do it? What feeds me? One thing that I will say is that there are a lot of people who get their joy by helping others, and I'm going to caution you and tell you that until your joy is satisfied, you will be spending your own energy to help others, which means you will never achieve joy. And that's another one of those structural beliefs. It's better to give than receive. No, it's not. It's better to receive until you're so full that you're spilling over and people are receiving because you're so full. That's the best way to give, is to give from abundance, is to give from overflowing with gratitude and joy and appreciation. So it's better to receive. Right now I'm giving you permission in your new world to be a receiver first. And when when you're so full, you can't receive any more goodness. It's just going to come out of you you'll be like a fairy sprinkling dust all over, like, and for you, and for you, and for you. And people follow you around when you're like that. I've seen it happen. I've seen people come out of workshops and they're just completely changed and different, and they'll go out into public and people will be like, oh my God, hi. Do I know you? I mean, they just want some interaction because they can feel that abundance and that goodness and that joy coming off of you like a cloud of fairy dust. All right, so that's your homework for today, is to take home, what would your perfect life look like? And one of the things that is important, again, you need challenges. So look at your current life. What challenges do you have, or do you have periodically, that you enjoy? So for example, at work, if you're called upon to defend your presentation or something and you do a really good job of it, is that something you like? Do you like, getting up? And so make sure that within your perfect life, you put enough challenges or ways that you like to be challenged, so that, because your mental body will not accept that you're going to this, new agey, sort of namby-pamby, everything's pretty and there's flowers, and your mental body has been responsible for the majority of your life up to date, because in the Western culture we put the mental body on the pedestal and we ignore the other three: the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual, just our second-rate citizens. So the poor mental body, which is your ego, has had to be responsible for everything in your life. And it may not want to give up all that control, but it also is like, just the facts, ma'am. Don't be giving me any of that silly new age stuff. I want the facts. So that if you put challenges in your new world, your mental body can go, okay, all right, I see where you're going with this. I can let go of some of this other stuff. Yeah, we can let some of this other stuff in, as long as that's there. I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to argue about my, whatever your mental body is good at. All right, moving on. So, do we have the mic? Where's the microphone? There it is, okay. I'm just going to put this right here in case anybody wants to. Oh, okay, thanks. So I have a question, and I'm curious to see if people have some answers here. How do you think human beings are designed to live? If this is not really how we were designed to be in relationship and in community and living on this planet, how do you think we were designed? And I'm interested to hear what people have to say, because I think that every one of us has a piece, and the more pieces that we put out into the energetic arena, the easier it will be for all of us to go like, oh yeah, that would be good. Oh, I'd like to put that in my world. So, is there anybody that would like to share something? How do you think human beings are designed? I'm going to call on somebody if they don't volunteer. There's that authoritarian figure, right? Here we go. We got a volunteer here.
I think that all human beings would have enough food, so it wouldn't be an issue. And some people like growing food, and that would just be shared. And then other people would be sharing other talents that they have in other ways. Maybe some people like to care for children or teach them, or maybe some people like to work with older people. So I just think everybody would do their job and there wouldn't be such strife between them.
Were you all able to hear her? Basically, she was talking about a sharing economy. So if you like to grow food, then you're going to grow food, and then you're going to share that food, and what you what you need, you'll get from somebody else who does that. And if you like to be with children, then you could be somebody who likes to teach children about nature. You could teach children about growing food. You could teach children about other things. If you're somebody that likes to take care of the elderly. And so a sharing economy means everybody finds their place. There's this beautiful story from Australia of this woman who went down there to work with they have nationalized health, so she went down there to work with the nationalized health thing, and she kept seeing these young Aboriginal kids on the street. And one day she was walking down the street, and one of these kids like really just looked her straight in the eye, and it shook her up. And on the television that night, she saw that he had died of an overdose on the street that day. And so she decided that she had to do something about that. And she noticed that in Australia when she was there, they didn't have screens on the windows. Can you imagine? Bugs in Australia are like this big. So, your windows are open and these giant bugs are flying in and out. And she remembered those little full screens that I've got one in my studio right now because there's no screen in the window. So you go to the hardware store and it's two little pieces of wood with screens on them that slide out so they're the right size. And then you just close the window on top of it and it gives you a little bit of air to come through. So she said, well, I'd like to set up an organization for them to do this. So she gathered all these kids up and she got some funding and they got a workshop and they got the equipment and she showed them and they started this business. Nobody told anybody what they had to do. Everybody chose the job that they liked the most. And they had this elderly man who sat there all day long on the bench watching them work. And at the end of the day, when they would go home, he would get up and clean everything up and put all the tools away, clean up the sawdust, clean up the scraps, so that the next morning the workshop was ready to go. Nobody told him that he had to be the janitor. He wanted to do that. So they, as a group, found their level, as water always does. Water's our creative energy. Water always finds its level. So think about the idea of having a sharing community where everybody does find their level. And what is the biggest challenge with a sharing economy? People don't pull their weight. That's one. That's a good one. What else? People don't get along. Valuing different things. How about greed? Is greed a big deal in a sharing economy? Right. Okay. So before you can really have a sharing economy, what you have to have is you have to have grown-up people. Okay? And here is how I define the difference between the childlike structures of Neverland that we live in the US and a grown-up structure that could accommodate a sharing economy. It is the difference between victimization and co-creation. As long as you are in a belief system that says you could be victimized, you have no power, or very little. You have only as much power as that structure gives you. And what is a victim reality? A victim reality says something bad can happen to you at any moment out of the blue, and it can wipe out everything, can wipe out your life, can wipe out your health, can take somebody you love away from you. And you are powerless to do anything about it. That's a victim reality. How many of our structures are based on that? Right there. Pretty much all of them. Co-creation says, I am at least 50% responsible. I am 50% responsible for every single thing that comes into my experience. I cannot be 51%, but I cannot be 49% either. I have to be 50%. 50% means that you are co-creating that experience with whoever else you're co-creating that experience with. Why would you co-create an experience that's painful? Why would you co-create an experience where you're victimized? This is what started me on my whole journey, was that question, because I grew up in an extremely abusive environment, and when I became old enough to start thinking about it, I said, when I first heard about co-creation, it made so much sense to me, and I really wanted to embrace it. But I kept thinking, why would I, as a child, have co-created those experiences? It just didn't make sense to me. I couldn't get my head around it. And then I worked with some really amazing teachers and some really amazing shamans, and I got to the place where I started to understand imprinting. And imprinting are the beliefs that you come here with or that you're given in your first 7 years of your life. And all the imprints you get in the United States are victim-based, believe me. By the time you're 7, you have been indoctrinated into a victim reality, which says you only have as much power as those in authority are willing to cede to you. And here are the rules and how to play them. And if you follow the rules, you might get ahead. Used to be that if you followed the rules, you would get ahead, but now that social contract's been broken. So the integrity of all these belief structures, too, are really falling apart, and people are looking for something new. So when I looked at co-creation from the point of imprinting, I was like, well, of course I would recreate these experiences over and over and over again, because it was my own emotional body trying to tell me what beliefs I was carrying. And the belief I carried, first and foremost, was people who love you will hurt you. That was my belief system. And so I played it out until I got to the point of consciousness to say, I don't like that. That's not working for me. I think I'm going to change that. And how do you change an imprint once you become conscious of it? Your actions. So the other thing I'd like you to do is look at your words and look at your actions. And do they meet? Do they meet? Because this is why I love journaling. Journaling will slap you upside the head if your words and your actions are not in alignment. Because you will see yourself saying these things, and then you will see yourself doing these things. And if they're not close together, there's going to be problems. That's what creates integrity in your field. When your words and actions match, you are an integritous person. You have integrity in your structure. When you have integrity of your structure, any other structure out there that's trying to influence you can only come through with integrity. No structure that's out of integrity will be able to get to you. It cannot get close enough to your heart to hurt you. So look at where your words and your actions match, and look at where your words and your actions don't match, and work at bringing your words and actions together, because that's one of the strongest ways that you can move into a creator reality. The second thing is, I need some water. Look at the places in your life where you're having challenges, either with another person, with an organization, even with a belief system. And ask yourself, why would I be co-creating this? What do I need to know? What do I need to hear? What do I need to look at? What do I need reflected so that I can resolve this experience, so that I can have ownership and move on? Have ownership, have resolution, and move on. All right. So, I've given you 2 little pieces of homework, which is to really spend some time working on what your ideal life looks like, and then look at where your thoughts and your actions and your words line up or don't, and make some adjustments. And as your words and your actions line up, that's going to pull you closer to that world that you're creating here with your perfect, this is how I'd like my life to look, kind of a thing. Now, one last thing about words and actions. How many people here tell white lies? We all do. I work really hard not to, and I'm always surprised when, after a long period of time of not, I find it creeping in. And I'm like, whoo, you bet. So let me just say something about white lies. White lies split your commitment to reality. Because what's really happening, which you're not telling the truth about, and the white lie immediately create 2 different realities. So now you're holding and feeding 2 different realities because you told a little white lie. So I'm going to encourage you to learn how to speak the truth in a way that is compassionate and yet is true for you. And that, so when somebody calls and says, would you like to go? Can you come over and help me paint my living room? And your body's like, absolutely not. And the first thing you say, I'd really like to, but, okay? Don't go there. Say, that's the least energizing thing I can think of that I'd like to do right now. And clearly, you need some help. So here's a way I would be willing to come. I would come over and give you 15 minutes of taping. Would that work for you? And if they say no, then you can be like, all right, let me know how, send me pictures. Because here's the thing, if that person doesn't want to be your friend after that, okay then, you can't be friends with anybody who doesn't want you to be honest. Then that's a way that we have of cleaning out. Because I'm telling you, I don't know about you guys, but my ability to maintain a lot of relationships has just completely collapsed. I am having to be really thoughtful now about who I spend time with, how I spend time with them, and how often I spend time with them. And so if I'm speaking the truth and people don't like it, thank you. That's taken a bunch of people out of my list of people that I feel like I have to be in relationship with or I have to spend some time with. So if you find speaking your truth to be difficult, just practice it in front of the mirror or practice it with somebody who loves you and likes the truth, and just say, okay, so-and-so called and they want this from me and I don't want to give it to them, and so I need to practice. Will you be them and practice and yell at me and tell me I'm a bad friend, and let me go through all that first so that my emotional body can find center within that. And then when I actually do go to speak my truth, I have an idea. One of the things about fear is the body saying, I don't have enough information to move forward with safety. And speaking your truth to somebody can be an extremely frightening experience because you don't know how they're going to react. So if you have somebody play that out for you, you get a pretty good slice of how somebody might react, right? All the way from, that's cool, come over and tape for 15 minutes, or fine. And then you know that, they're going to be holding a grudge for you. And everything in between. Like, you're a terrible friend. I can't believe you would say that. You know how much help I need. You get to practice and find within yourself the words that will speak your truth coming from that place of integrity, which is, that is not energizing to me. And that you don't have to say anything else. I'm so sorry. No, you're not sorry. That's not energizing to me. And here's something that is energizing to me. When you're done painting, I'll take you out for a drink. Okay? You have options. You can offer other things. People who don't know how to receive help get very addicted to finding the one person who can't say no and making them say yes all the time. They don't want, and so somebody like that will never accept an alternative to their ask. They want what they want, and they will not say, a drink afterwards would be awesome. They'll just be like, do you know what kind of a place I have to get this painted, and I can't believe it. If I don't have it painted, my landlord's going to kick me out. And they will have a story that's designed to pull you in emotionally. And you gotta, if you're not energized to do it, you have to stay strong, because that's how, remember I talked about joy fills you first? Those leakers, those places of leaking like that, you can just plug them up by saying no. And say it no with kindness and graciousness, and it's not energizing to me. Here's what is energizing to me. Staying home. I'm very good at saying no to people that I don't know very well. It's the people that I really love that I have a hard time saying no to. And so I've learned to just check in with myself and say, yeah, That's not right for me, but here is something that does feel, I have a little bit of energy around this thing, so I'd like to offer this to you instead. And it could be something that's completely far away, like come in for a session with me. You know, and that's not what they were asking for. They wanted me to help them clean their laundry room, but I don't want to go clean your laundry room. I can have a hard enough time cleaning my own house. So come and do a session with me because that will make me clean my house. Okay. I'm going to give you just a few strategies that I think will help you to move from these victim realities to these creator realities, and then we're going to do the offering. So, identify where you're participating in the structures that are holding you down. Where are you investing your belief? Do you believe that your body is weak and can't take care of itself and needs to have outside influences constantly giving you pills and treatments and things like that? Do you believe that? Because you're participating in that. And so I'm not asking you to stop. I'm saying open yourself up to the possibility in your little perfect world over here that your body is a self-healing tool, or not even a self-healing tool, a self-healing entity. And that if it gets the right nutrition and the right emotional environment, it can heal itself of anything. Okay? It's something to put in your belief system. Listen to young people. Young people are here to break up the old, entrenched, traditional structures that don't make any sense and are not keeping us free. Young people, which are why they're the greatest activists, because they have all this, my friend used to say, teenagers have the energy of a nuclear power plant. If we could only harness that. That's why teenagers and young people make the best activists, because they have all that passion up, and they're telling us, this is wrong. It needs to change. Okay, so listen to young people. Refuse to tell lies, no matter how tiny, because you're going to split your reality if you do that. Trust your gut. This knows everything you need to move through life with safety and abundance. This comes third. So the question I always ask myself if I have a decision to make, if there was no money in this equation, what would I do? If money had nothing to do with this, what would I do? Practice doing exactly what you please, even for 5 minutes. This is called a temporary autonomous zone, TAZ, a TAZ. A temporary autonomous zone is nobody owns you, you don't have anything that you have to do, and for that amount of time, you're simply pleasing yourself. Once you create a TAZ, you can expand it. So maybe one day you have 5 whole minutes of temporary autonomous zone, and then the next day you expand that to 7, and then the next day you expand that to 10, and a week later you expand that to 15, and pretty soon you have a whole day a week where you have a temporary autonomous zone. You're not having to do or be anything. Vote with your dollars. Support the structures that are breaking down the old victim beliefs, and support small businesses, entrepreneurs, people who are challenging the status quo. Support them, including activists. Bring them coffee and donuts. And finally, get involved with your city council. We have to start changing the conversation at the city level about police and security and bad people versus good people. And we all need to get out there and have our voice in it. And so go to a city council meeting, go to several city council meetings, find something about your neighborhood that your city council is going to be voting on, and show up at the meeting and speak your piece. They're listening. And things are happening at the local level that are phenomenal. I will tell you that. So get involved. If you can only go once every 2 months, go once every 2 months. Whatever you can do, bring yourself out into the community and make yourself a resource. Okay? Are we ready for the offering? All right. So thank you very much. Appreciate your listening to me.
Thanks.
All right. So drop your hands. You're going to put your left palm up about halfway, and you're just going to leave that there. You're going to take your right palm, And you're going to go over the person on your right's hand until you can feel an energy. So make sure your hand is pointing at the person next to you, not in front. Right? Like that. Like you're an Egyptian. Okay, so you want to put your hand on top of it. So there's a chakra in your hand, and what you're looking to do is get the chakras. Ooh, you had it there first. Yeah, there it is. And you should feel, you should feel it when it snaps in. It's pretty powerful. So energy goes through the body, it comes in from the left and it goes out through the right. So let's feel the energy of the body start moving through the room. It's coming in our left, it's moving over our heart. And as it moves over our heart, we're going to send out just a tiny little drop of joy and abundance and gratitude. And then it's going to go out of our right hand and into the person next to us. And then follow your energy around the room and feel how every time it goes through another person's heart, a little drop of heart energy goes in there. And so as that's happening, there's a vortex that's being created here. There's a vortex of energy. And just see that big, it's like a whirlpool that's flashing pink and green crystals. And it's just getting stronger and stronger and bigger and bigger. And now it's starting to move outside of the church. It's moving through the neighborhoods. It's moving through the city, crossing the river to St. Paul and some of the suburbs. It's picking up along the way other people who are tuned into us and are sending their heart energy. Now they can see it from the space station. What the hell is that? This big pink and green flashing vortex that's just now encompassing the entire Americas, moving across both oceans, and slowly enveloping the entire earth. And at each pole, that vortex of energy continues out into space. And so now we're going to disconnect from that vortex while it keeps going. We're going to take a big inhale, and on the inhale or on the exhale, bring your hands together like you're holding a ball. So inhale, exhale. That's your little ball of that vortex that belongs only to you. And so just kind of feel it, feel the colors swirling around, see the colors swirling around. Maybe you can smell it. Some people have that skill. And then we're going to take a big inhale, and on the exhale, you're going to smear that all over your heart. So inhale and exhale. And so even though that vortex is continuing on, we are a part of it, yet we are not continually feeding it. So I just want to reassure you that you're not going to be going home and all of a sudden be like, I have no energy left. That's not going to happen, okay? That's why we kept just a small ball of that and we sent the rest of it out. So thank you very much. I really appreciated you being here today. I hope I see you again soon.